There is something powerful about the woman who walks alone, without the constant presence of friends or companions. In a world where relationships are often seen as the measure of one's worth, the woman who walks alone with God learns a deeper truth. Her true strength comes not from the people around her, but from the God who sustains her every step. When a woman walks alone, she comes to realize that her true strength is not found in the companionship of others, but in the presence of God. In times of solitude, she learns to rely fully on Him for guidance and comfort. While relationships with others are important, they are not the foundation of her well-being. Instead, her relationship with God becomes her anchor. As she walks through life without the constant presence of friends, she begins to experience the reality of Psalm 23:4. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. This verse reassures her that God's companionship is far more constant and reliable than any earthly relationship. In her solitude, she finds a quiet place to seek God's will, trust His promises, and hear His voice more clearly. There is a unique strength that comes from walking alone with God, a strength that does not waver when the world around her changes. She discovers that she is never truly alone, for God's presence goes with her wherever she walks. This realization allows her to stand firm in the face of adversity, to take steps with confidence, knowing that her every move is supported by a loving and faithful God. Through this deep connection with God, she comes to understand that her true worth and power are not determined by the people around her, but by the one who created her. The more she leans on God, the more she finds that He is enough, providing all she needs for strength, wisdom, and peace. When a woman walks alone with God, she experiences the transformation of her faith in a way that earthly companionships cannot offer. In the absence of constant support from friends or peers, she is forced to turn her heart and mind fully toward God. In moments of solitude, she gains a deeper understanding of the power of God's promises and how they can be trusted in the midst of uncertainty. The absence of human voices creates a space where God's voice becomes clearer, and she learns to recognize His presence in every step. This faith, built on the foundation of God's truth and not on human validation, becomes unshakable. As her reliance on others diminishes, she discovers that her dependence on God increases. She begins to grasp the depth of God's love for her and the faithfulness He promises in times of trial. She finds that His word becomes her refuge, her source of comfort, and her guide through even the darkest of valleys. Through this relationship, she is shaped, molded, and transformed. Her faith matures as she experiences the truth that God does not fail, and His promises are always kept. This growth strengthens her ability to withstand trials, knowing that no matter what she faces, God's hand is upon her. She learns to walk by faith and not by sight, trusting that her journey is under God's control. This unshakable faith leads her to act with boldness and courage, living each day secure in the knowledge that God's promises are sure, and His presence is her true comfort. Walking alone with God allows a woman to cultivate a sense of inner independence that is not reliant on the approval or presence of others. In a world that often equates self-worth with social circles or external validation, solitude with God reveals a deeper truth. Her identity is rooted in Christ alone. As she navigates life without the companionship of friends, she begins to embrace her value in God's eyes, independent of the world's standards. She learns that her worth is not defined by how others perceive her, but by the love God has already shown her. This independence comes not from a sense of isolation, but from an assurance that she is complete in Christ. In solitude, she experiences the freedom of living in God's acceptance, knowing that she has nothing to prove to anyone except Him. She no longer seeks validation from the world's ever-changing standards, but finds her identity firmly grounded in the truth of who she is as a beloved daughter of God. As she walks this journey, she becomes more comfortable with who God has created her to be, finding strength in her unique calling. This newfound inner independence allows her to make decisions based on God's direction rather than seeking approval from others. She learns to trust in His wisdom and plan for her life, knowing that His ways are higher than her own. This inner peace and confidence in her identity in Christ empower her to face life's challenges with courage and grace, walking confidently in the truth of who she is in Him. When a woman walks alone with God, the trials she faces often become a means of personal growth and spiritual development. In solitude, she encounters challenges that require her to lean on God more deeply, which strengthens her character and resilience. These trials, whether emotional, physical, or spiritual, reveal her capacity to persevere and trust in God's plan. Through each obstacle, she learns that God uses difficult moments not as setbacks but as opportunities for growth. She discovers that her faith is tested and refined in the fire of adversity, much like gold is purified. As she walks through struggles, she gains a deeper understanding of God's faithfulness and His ability to carry her through. She begins to understand that each difficulty is an invitation to grow stronger in her dependence on Him, and that in these moments of weakness, God's power is made perfect. The challenges she faces alone refine her patience, build her endurance, and teach her to rely on God's provision and timing. As she overcomes each hurdle, she becomes more confident in her ability to handle life's uncertainties, not because of her own strength, but because of God's sustaining grace. Through trials, she learns that perseverance is a form of spiritual maturity. These experiences shape her into a woman of greater depth, strength, and compassion. The solitude she once feared becomes a space for powerful transformation, where her character is shaped into the likeness of Christ. With every step, she grows in wisdom, understanding, and faith, knowing that God is faithful to complete the work He has started in her. When a woman walks alone with God, she begins to recognize and embrace the unique purpose God has set before her. Without the distractions of external influences or the expectations of others, she can hear more clearly the still, small voice of God guiding her steps. In solitude, she becomes more attuned to the specific calling God has placed on her life. She no longer looks to others to define her purpose, but instead turns inward to seek God's direction. This focused attention allows her to discover the gifts and talents He has given her, which may have been overlooked in the busyness of life or in the pursuit of approval from others. As she walks with God, she learns that her life is part of a bigger plan, and her unique role in that plan is essential. Whether her calling is in ministry, family, work, or any other area, she begins to understand that her life has great significance in God's kingdom. She learns to trust that God's plan for her is perfect, and that every step, even those taken alone, is part of a divine purpose. This deepened sense of purpose gives her the courage to walk confidently without needing affirmation from the world. She knows that her actions are in line with God's will, and that is enough. The more she walks with God, the more she discovers about her true calling, and with each step, she is empowered to fulfill the purpose for which she was created. Walking alone with God, she finds not loneliness, but a divine purpose that shapes her every decision, action, and direction in life. In conclusion, walking alone with God is not a journey of loneliness, but one of deep spiritual growth, transformation, and empowerment. Through this path, a woman discovers her true strength, rooted in her relationship with God. In solitude, she builds unshakable faith, experiences inner independence, overcomes trials, and uncovers her unique purpose. It is through walking with God that she finds her identity, her calling, and the courage to face life's challenges. She realizes that she is never truly alone, for God's presence goes with her, guiding, comforting, and empowering her every step of the way. As you embark on this journey, may you trust in God's perfect plan for your life and rely on His unwavering presence. May you continue to grow in strength, wisdom, and courage, knowing that He who has called you is faithful. Remember, God walks with you, and with Him, you are never truly alone. Good luck on your journey, and may God bless you abundantly. Thank you for listening, and may you always walk confidently in His love and guidance.